Today, we're going to pull apart the work of a true master, a composer who didn't just write music for movies, he actually rewired how movies make us feel. This is the story of John Williams and how he built a system to turn emotion into a weapon. All right, picture this. The year is 1975. John Williams, a composer who's respected but not yet a legend, has a serious problem. He's scoring this little thriller about a shark, but the director, a young guy named Steven Spielberg, is having a complete meltdown. Why? Because the multi-million-dollar mechanical shark, Bruce, is a total piece of junk. It barely works. The movie's monster is a dud, and this production nightmare, well, it accidentally handed Williams an opportunity that would change film forever. So put yourself in his shoes. How do you possibly score a monster you can't even see? How do you create this sense of pure, primal terror for something that's hiding beneath the waves for most of the movie? You have to make the idea of the shark scarier than the real thing. This wasn't just a question about music. No, this was pure psychology. And the answer he came up with gave us more than just two of the most famous notes in history. It completely changed the game. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with that big Jaws revelation, then we'll see how he forged this totally new sound. After that, we get to the heart of it, what we're calling the Williams rule. We'll look at his system, see the legacy it created, and finally, figure out how you can use these same principles to make your own message unforgettable. Okay, so this is it, the big moment. It all begins right here, with this one movie and one incredibly bold, counterintuitive choice. This wasn't just about coming up with a spooky theme for a shark. This was about Williams discovering a whole new way of thinking about music and film, a way that flew in the face of everything, and I mean everything, that was considered cool or sophisticated at the time.
You have to understand, back then, thrillers had a certain sound. It was all about being ambient, atonal, just generally unsettling. Think about those movies from the late 60s and early 70s. It was all screechy strings and weird electronic hums designed to get under your skin. The goal was to be subtle. The music would lurk in the background and make you feel a little uneasy, but it was always emotionally neutral. It would suggest a feeling, but it never ever demanded one.
But Williams, he looked at all that subtlety and said, nope, we're going the other way. We're going big. He realized the real power wasn't in hinting at fear, it was in the unabashed, full-force deployment of massive orchestral emotion. Instead of making you feel vaguely anxious, he was going to grab you by the collar and tell you exactly what to feel and precisely when to feel it. For Jaws, this meant the music wasn't just going to suggest there was a shark in the water. The music was the shark. Now, an idea that big doesn't just pop into your head out of nowhere, right? It was built on years of training, of struggle, and a real burning desire to be heard. So to really get this rule, we've got to understand the man who built it. Williams started his career as a journeyman, a real studio workhorse. He was a killer jazz pianist, composed for tons of TV shows. Basically, he could write anything for anyone. But it also meant he was, anonymous. And that fight, that battle against just being another name in the credits is what forged his absolute commitment to memorable melody. He learned a crucial lesson. If you want your work to last, you can't just create a mood. You have to give people a tune they can hum, an idea they can actually hold on to. But look, a catchy tune by itself is just, a jingle. What made Williams a genius is that he fused that pop sensibility with hardcore classical training from Juilliard. He understood that to really use emotion like a weapon, you needed both. You need the simple melody that anyone can remember, but it has to be built on a rock-solid foundation of complex musical technique. That's what gives his themes such incredible depth and power. And when you mix that drive for a killer melody with that deep classical knowledge, what do you get? You get a system. It wasn't just an instinct anymore. It became a full-blown philosophy, a set of principles we can actually define. And that's what we're calling the Williams rule. This is it, folks. This is the secret sauce. At the very center of this rule is one simple but really powerful belief. Melody is the memory of myth. Think about it. We don't remember ancient myths from reading dense history books. We remember them because of their heroes, their villains, their epic moments. Williams knew that music works exactly the same way. A powerful melody is what turns a simple story into a legend that gets passed down through generations. It's the musical flag that says, pay attention, this part matters. So let's put a pin in it. What is the Williams rule officially? It's treating the film score not like background music, but as a primary storyteller. The music dictates who's important, what's at stake, and how you should feel, with zero room for interpretation. In a Williams score, the music isn't just supporting the story. A lot of the time, the music is the story. And his rule really breaks down into 3 key parts. First, the Leitmotif System Mandate. That's a fancy way of saying every important character, idea, or object gets its own theme song. You hear the Imperial March, you feel Darth Vader. Simple. Second, the Maximal Orchestral Palate. Basically, go big or go home. Use a full 100-piece orchestra to make the emotions as epic as possible. And third, the heroic/moral anchor rule. This is about grounding your main themes in something aspirational, something heroic. It elevates a simple movie into the realm of myth. Okay, so a great philosophy is one thing, but how do you actually execute it over and over again on some of the biggest films of all time? Well, you need a system. And John Williams had his process down to a science. His main system is this amazing balancing act. On one hand, the theme has to be incredibly simple. The Jaws theme is literally 2 notes. Anyone can remember that. But, and here's the magic, that simple tune is also built with enough structural depth that it can be twisted, changed, and developed. It's why the Force theme can be a quiet, hopeful whisper in one scene and a massive, triumphant anthem in the next. It's the same melody, but it grows with the story. His other secret weapon was all about pure technical discipline, his rigorous use of the click track. A click track is just a metronome for the orchestra, but he used it with military precision. This meant every musical hit, every emotional swell was perfectly, mathematically synchronized to the action on screen. When Indiana Jones throws a punch, the brass hits at that exact same instant. There's no guesswork. It's pure, calculated, emotional impact. So you put all of this together, and the results? It wasn't just a few classic scores. It was the total reinvention of the Hollywood blockbuster. Williams didn't just write music. He created the emotional language, the very lexicon of modern movies. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. 54 Academy Award nominations. That is just staggering. He's the most nominated living person in Oscar history. Winning 5 of them is just icing on the cake, cementing his status as a true master. But even those crazy numbers don't really capture the full story of his impact. His real legacy is just monumental. He's the guy who single-handedly brought back the giant symphonic orchestra score. He made the Leitmotif System, that theme song idea, the default for basically every blockbuster that came after him. Ultimately, he proved that having the guts to go all in on big, unapologetic melody is how you achieve cinematic immortality. He gave our modern myths their voice. And this is where it all comes back to us. Because the Williams rule isn't just about making movies. It's a really profound lesson in communication, in persuasion, in making any idea last. It's a framework that we can apply to pretty much anything. So here it is, the big lesson. If you want your work, your idea, your message to be unforgettable, you have to anchor it in systematic, high-impact emotion. Don't be neutral, don't be subtle, don't hide behind complexity. Find the emotional core of what you're trying to say and turn the volume all the way up. And you can start by borrowing his most powerful tool, the Leitmotif Mandate. Whether you're building a brand or just giving a presentation, find your main idea and give it a theme. It doesn't have to be music. It can be a key phrase, an image, a simple concept, but it has to be clear, memorable, and you have to repeat it until it becomes inseparable from your message. Because at the end of the day, we are all drowning in information. And in this noisy world, complexity is your enemy. It's forgettable. The ideas that cut through aren't the most nuanced or the most detailed. They're the ones that connect on a simple, primal emotional level. They're the ones with a clear theme that we can grab onto and carry with us. John Williams built his legacy on the profound truth that music is the memory of our myths. The Williams rule was his blueprint for wielding emotion with symphonic power, and it proves one lesson that goes way beyond the movie theater. Systematic emotion is immortal.